Blaine Maddox stared at the city lights of Seattle fading in and out through patches of rain as the cab pulled into his neighborhood. After 12 days on the road, the familiar streets should have felt welcoming. They did not. Something cold and instinctive prickled at the back of his neck. Just up here on the right, he told the driver, checking his watch. 9:47 p.m. Precision mattered. Always had. The business trip had been brutal. 3 manufacturing plants in 5 states. Each with supply chain issues that needed immediate attention. Problems, solutions, numbers. The language Blaine spoke fluently. He de-fixed their logistics disasters with ruthless efficiency, the way he de-built his reputation over 15 years. Exhaustion pulled at him as the cab slowed. He did not do exhaustion. It was inefficient. He de-slept for 6 hours, then spent Saturday morning with Wyatt. The thought of his son, the only genuine softness in Blaine's life, straightened his posture slightly. Rain tapped against the windows as the car rolled to a stop. Blaine handed the driver cash, exact amount plus a calculated tip, and stepped out, pulling his carry-on behind him. The first warning sign, lights? Too many lights, splashing red and blue across the wet pavement of his quiet suburban street. The second, the cluster of neighbors standing in the rain, whispering behind cupped hands that Blaine's stride did not break as he approached his house. Control was everything, especially when control was threatened. 3 police cruisers parked in front of his home, uniformed officers moving with purpose. Yellow tape stretched across his manicured front lawn. "Sir, you need to stay back." A young officer stepped into his path, palm raised. "This is my house." Blaine's voice was flat, uninflected. "What's happening here?" The officer's eyes narrowed, then widened in recognition. He reached for his radio. "Detective, I think Mr. Maddox just arrived." An older man with salt and pepper hair emerged from Blaine's front door. "Detective," clearly the suit gave it away, despite being rumpled from a long day. He gave Blaine a hard look, then nodded to 2 uniformed officers. Blaine did not resist when they approached. He simply asked, "Where are my wife and son?" The detective, his badge red cross, stepped closer. "Blaine Maddox?" "Yes." "Where's my family?" Officer Cross did not answer. Instead, he nodded to the officer's flanking Blaine. "Sir, turn around and place your hands behind your back." "What is this about?" Blaine's voice remained steady, even as his mind raced through possibilities. Tax audit? Corporate espionage? Some competitor trying to frame him? "Blaine Maddox, you are under arrest for the murder of Wyatt Maddox." The words did not register at first. They were incomprehensible, like someone speaking a language he did not understand. "My son? That's not possible." The handcuffs clicked cold against his wrists. Blaine's vision narrowed to a tunnel. His son, the only person in this world who mattered to him. Dead? No. And by his hand? Impossible. The detective read him his rights, but Blaine barely heard the familiar words. Through the front door, he caught a glimpse of Maris. His wife stood in the foyer, her face streaked with tears, clutching a police officer's arm. Their eyes met. Hers were red-rimmed, devastated, but something was wrong with that devastation. 12 years of marriage had taught Blaine to read Maris. And what he read now did not add up. Before he could process it, the officers were leading him toward a cruiser. "I need to see my son," Blaine said, his voice controlled but urgent. "There's been a mistake. ULLC plenty down at the station." Officer Cross replied, his hand firm on Blaine's shoulder as he guided him into the back of the police car. The door slammed shut. Through the window, Blaine watched his neighbors' faces. Shock. Horror. Judgment. He forced himself to breathe evenly. To think. Wyatt could not be dead. And if by some nightmare he was, Blaine certainly had not killed him. Which meant someone had set him up. As the cruiser pulled away, Blaine's shock hardened into something else. Cold, calculated focus. He would find out what happened to his son, and whoever was responsible would regret it. The interrogation room at the Seattle PD was exactly what Blaine expected. Small, stark, with one-way glass that probably hid watchful eyes. He'd been here an hour, sitting perfectly still, his mind working through scenarios and probabilities. The door opened. A woman entered, late 40s. Sharp, gray pantsuit. Hair pulled back in a no-nonsense knot. She carried a thick file and a cup of coffee, neither of which she offered to share. "Mr. Maddox, I'm Detective Kendra Moffat." Her voice was neutral, professional. She laid the file on the table and took a seat across from him. "Do you want to tell me what happened?" "I want to know if my son is dead." Blaine kept his voice level. Detective Moffat studied him, assessing. "The body found in your garage has been tentatively identified as your son, yes." "The body?" The confirmation hit Blaine like a physical weight, but he refused to show it. Refused to break. Then I want to see him. That would not be possible right now. She opened the file. You have not asked for a lawyer. I do not need one. I did not kill my son. Then help me understand why your wife says you came home early from your trip and why we found bloody clothes matching your size in your garage workshop, or why neighbors reported hearing you and Wyatt arguing loudly 2 nights ago, or why we found texts from your phone threatening the boy. She watched him carefully. Blaine's mind processed the evidence methodically. I did not come home early. I was in Detroit until this morning, then Chicago until I boarded my flight 3 hours ago. The airline can confirm that. I have not been home in 12 days. He leaned forward slightly. I would never threaten Wyatt. Ever. Your wife seems convinced otherwise. She gave a very detailed statement about your return yesterday. Your argument with Wyatt and how you sent her to get groceries. When she came back, you were cleaning up the garage and Wyatt was nowhere to be found. Blaine's jaw tightened. She's lying. That's a serious accusation, Mr. Maddox. It's the truth. Check the flight manifests. Check my hotel. Check the security footage at the logistics plant in Chicago where I spent all day. I was not in Seattle. He kept his voice controlled despite the rage building inside him. Not at Moffat. She was just doing her job, but at whatever was happening at whoever had taken his son. We were looking into your alibi. Moffat said, but the evidence here is compelling. The threatening texts came from your phone number. Then someone used my number. It's not difficult to spoof a caller ID. Moffat nodded, acknowledging the point. You and your wife having problems, Mr. Maddox? A careful question. Blaine considered it, weighing what to reveal. No more than any couple. That's not what your neighbors say. They report frequent arguments. Raised voices in recent months. Between me and Maris, perhaps. Not with Wyatt. Blaine maintained eye contact. My son and I did not argue. Ever. Detective Moffat made a note. When did you last speak with your son? 4 days ago. A video call. The memory cut through him. Wyatt excited about a science project showing off the model he built. Had that been the last time he see his son alive? No. He refused to accept that. What did you talk about? His science project. School. Normal things. Blaine paused. Detective, I want to see the threatening text you mentioned. She hesitated, then slid her phone across the table. On the screen was a text conversation allegedly between Blaine and Wyatt. I know what you did. We'll discuss it when I get home. Dad, please. It was not my fault. I'm tired of your excuses. You've disappointed me for the last time. That I'm sorry. I'll do better. Too late for that. I'll handle this my way when I return. Blaine felt something cold settle in his stomach. I never sent these. This is not how I talk to my son. Your wife confirmed the conversations. Moffat said, taking the phone back. She said Wyatt was terrified of your return. Then my wife is involved in whatever happened to our son. The words came out before Blaine could censor them. Moffat's eyebrows raised slightly. That's quite an accusation. It's the logical conclusion. I did not send those texts. I did not return early for my trip. I did not kill my son. Blaine's voice remained steady, but a dangerous edge had crept in. Someone is setting me up and Maris is either helping them or being manipulated herself. Any idea who might want to frame you for murder? Blaine considered the question. Competitors, perhaps, but this was too personal, too vicious for corporate warfare. Not yet, but I intend to find out. Mr. Maddox, you do understand you the primary suspect in a murder investigation? You not in a position to be finding anything out. I understand my position perfectly, detective. Blaine met her gaze without flinching. I also understand that while you refocusing on me, whoever really killed my son, if he's indeed dead, is getting away with it. Something flickered in Moffat's eyes, doubt perhaps. She gathered her papers. We'll hold you overnight while we verify your alibi. I'd recommend you call a lawyer. I'd recommend you find who really killed my son. Blaine's voice was cold as ice. Detective Moffat stood. One more thing, Mr. Maddox. The blood on the clothes in your garage? Preliminary tests match your son's blood type. She left him alone with that information, closing the door softly behind her. Blaine sat motionless, his mind working like the precision machine it was. Someone had orchestrated this. They killed his son or made it appear so. Planted evidence, manipulated his wife. Why? The answer did not matter now. Finding who did it, that mattered. Making them pay, that mattered more. The holding cell was bare and cold, but Blaine hardly noticed. He sat on the thin mattress, back straight, eyes fixed on the wall opposite. To the guard watching through the small window, he might have appeared unnaturally calm. Inside his mind worked furiously. He catalogued the last few months methodically, searching for patterns he might have missed. Maris had grown distant. He attributed it to his increased travel schedule for major contracts in 3 months, had kept him on the road more than at home. But now looking back he saw the signs. Her sudden interest in yoga classes 3 nights a week. The way she'd change her phone screen when he entered a room. Small lies about where she'd been or who she'd spoken to. The life insurance policies were the most damning in retrospect. 2 months ago, she'd suggested they increase their coverage. For security, she'd said. Blaine had agreed without much thought. Risk management was second nature to him. He signed the paperwork while reviewing quarterly projections. Barely registering the sheet added a substantial rider for Wyatt. The pieces aligned with cold clarity. His wife was having an affair. Somehow that had led to Wyatt's death, real or staged, and Blaine being framed for murder. The cell door opened, startling him from his thoughts. "You're in luck, Maddox," the officer said. "Your alibi checks out for now. Security footage from your Chicago hotel shows you checking in at the time your wife claims you were home." Detective wants another word. Blaine followed silently, his mind still processing. In the same interrogation room, Detective Moffat waited. Her expression more guarded than before. "Have a seat, Mr. Maddox." Blaine complied, saying nothing. "Your hotel alibi looks solid," she began, "but there are inconsistencies we need to address. Your wife is adamant you came home. She described your clothes, your conversation, specific details. My wife is lying." Blaine stated it as fact, not accusation. "Why would she do that? I have theories." Blaine leaned forward slightly. "Detective, I'd like to see the security footage from my house. We installed cameras last year." Moffat's expression tightened. "The system was disabled. Your wife said you often turn it off for privacy." "Never. That system runs constantly." Another data point confirming his suspicions. Moffat made a note. "There's something else. We reviewing exterior security footage from your neighbor across the street. Their camera catches the edge of your driveway." She hesitated. "The timestamp matches when your wife claims you came home, but the figure entering your garage is inconsistent with your build." Blaine felt a grim satisfaction. The first crack in the setup. Inconsistent how? Heavier. Different posture. Moffat studied him. "Mr. Maddox, do you have any idea who might have access to your home? Who might want to harm your son?" "I'm developing a theory," Blaine said cautiously. "I'd like to make a call. To your lawyer, I hope." "Exactly." 20 minutes later, Blaine sat with the phone pressed to his ear, speaking in low, measured tones. "Gid, I need you. Not as a friend. As my attorney." Gideon Ellis' voice was alert despite the late hour. "What's happened?" "I've been arrested for Wyatt's murder." A beat of silence. "Tell me you're joking." "What I joke about my son?" "Jesus." Gid's voice dropped. "Is he?" "They say yes. I have not seen the body." Blaine kept his voice steady. "I did not do it. I was out of town. But Maris is telling them I came home early and killed him." "Maris?" Gid sounded genuinely shocked. "Why would she?" "That's what we need to find out. I need bail. And I need someone I trust looking into this while I'm in here. I'll be there in 30 minutes. Do not say another word to anyone." Blaine hung up and was led back to his cell. He sat perfectly still, conserving energy, his mind continuing to work. If Wyatt was truly dead, whoever was responsible would pay with more than their freedom. If this was an elaborate frame and part of him desperately hoped it was, he would dismantle it piece by piece until he found his son. Meanwhile, in a small monitoring room, Detective Moffat reviewed the grainy security footage for the dozenth time. The figure entering the Maddox garage matched Blaine's height, but was noticeably heavier through the shoulders and midsection. The face was never clearly visible. She pulled up Blaine's airline records again. The timestamps aligned with his story. He could not have been in 2 places at once, unless he found a way to fake the Chicago footage. But why go to such elaborate lengths? Her phone buzzed with a text from the medical examiner. Prelim ID confirmation on Maddox. Boy complicated by condition of remains. Dental records needed. Moffat frowned. The body had been badly burned deliberately. It seemed making identification difficult. She assumed it was to hide evidence of the murder. But what if it served another purpose? What if the body was not Wyatt Maddox at all? Gideon Ellis looked exactly as Blaine remembered, rumpled suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. Perpetual 5 o'clock shadow and the sharp, evaluating eyes that had made him one of Seattle's most sought-after defense attorneys. They'd known each other since they were 10, thrown together as the only two boys in their neighborhood who preferred chess to football. "You look like hell," Gideon said by way of greeting as Blaine was led into the consultation room. "Appreciate the honesty." Blaine took a seat across from his friend, acutely aware of his own disheveled appearance after a night and holding the kid's expression sobered. "I talked to the DA. They pushing for no bail, flight risk, danger to the community, the usual song and dance. They have nothing solid. They have your wife's testimony, threatening texts from your number, bloody clothes in your garage, and a dead kid. Lean forward. It does not get much more solid in terms of circumstantial. Except I did not do it. And they know my alibi checks out. For now, they suggesting you could have hired someone then established an alibi." Gid shook his head. "What the hell is going on with Maris? I've met her a dozen times, and she never struck me as capable of framing her husband for murder." Blaine's voice was cold. "People show you what they want you to see. Even you, even me." Blaine met his friend's gaze. "I need to get out of here. Today." Get nodded. "Judge Westmore is presiding. I've dealt with her before. She's tough, but fair. If we can poke enough holes in their case." He trailed off, then fixed Blaine with a hard look. "You holding back? What's your theory here?" Blaine considered his words carefully. "Maris has been distant, secretive. I believe she's been having an affair. The timing with the life insurance policies is suspicious. You think she killed Wyatt for insurance money? That's dark, even for you. I think someone killed someone and is trying to frame me. I'm not convinced the body is Wyatt's." Gid's eyebrows shot up. "That's a hell of a theory. It's the most logical explanation for the discrepancies." Blaine leaned forward. "I need you to do something else for me beyond the bail hearing. I need you to contact my sister Callie. Tell her what's happened, but keep it quiet. And I need you to start looking into Maris' movements over the past 3 months. Playing detective is not typically part of my legal services. Bill me double." Blaine's expression did not change. "There's more. If you can access our home security system back in the cloud storage, you might find footage from before the system was disabled." Gid made notes, his expression troubled. "Blaine, if Wyatt is really gone, then whoever is responsible will pay." Blaine's voice had a finality to it that made even Gid, who'd known him for nearly 30 years, uneasy. The bail hearing went as well as could be expected. Judge Westmore set bail at $1 million steep, but not insurmountable for someone of Blaine's resources. By that afternoon, he was being processed for release with strict conditions, surrender of his passport, an ankle monitor, and orders not to leave King County or contact his wife as he collected his personal effects. A nurse with familiar features rushed into the processing area, her face tight with worry and anger. "Blaine." Callie Maddox pushed past a protesting officer and wrapped her arms around her brother. He returned the embrace stiffly and used to such displays, even from his sister. "You should not be here," he said quietly. "The hell I should not." Callie pulled back, her eyes red-rimmed, but fierce. "Your attorney called me. Is it true about Wyatt?" Blaine glanced at the officers nearby. "We'll talk outside." Once in Gid's car, Callie's professional composure broke. "They saying you killed him. That's all over the news. Maris gave an interview. She was crying, talking about how she feared for her life too." "She did what?" Blaine's voice was dangerously quiet. Gid pulled out his phone and showed them the local news clip. There was Maris, her face tear-stained, voice breaking as she spoke to reporters outside their home. "I just want justice for my son. I trusted my husband. I never thought he could." I keep thinking I should have seen the signs, the anger issues, the control. She broke down sobbing as reporters thrust microphones closer. Callie made a disgusted noise. Always knew she was fake, but this is beyond acting. She really believes you did it? Or is she? She knows exactly what she's doing. Blaine said, and it's not going to work. Get navigated through afternoon traffic. You see not stay at your house court order. And frankly, it's still a crime scene. You can crash in my place. He's staying with me. Callie said firmly, my building has security and no one would think to look for him there. Blaine nodded agreement. We need to start gathering information. Carefully, whoever set this up had it planned precisely. One wrong move and they'll disappear with whatever they after. What exactly are they after? Get asked, money most likely. The life insurance on Wyatt was substantial. There were recent changes to my own policy as well, with Maris as sole beneficiary. Callie's expression hardened. You think she killed Wyatt for money? Her own son. I'm not convinced Wyatt is dead. Blaine stared out the window at the passing city. The body was burned beyond recognition. They were still waiting on dental records. I need to see the autopsy report. Jesus, Blaine. Gid shook his head. Even for you, that's cold. It's logical. If you wanted to frame someone for murder but did not want to actually kill the intended victim, what would you do? Find a substitute? Callie realized. But who? That's what we need to find out. Blaine's phone buzzed a text from an unknown number. He opened it, then showed it to the others. Not all cops think you did it. Need to talk. Alone. Waterfront Park, 7 p.m. KM. Detective Moffat, Blaine said. She's having doubts. It could be a trap, Gid warned. Or that could be our first real lead. Blaine's expression was resolute. I'll be there. While Blaine prepared to meet Detective Moffat. Across town, Charismatic sat in her living room. The perfect picture of grief. News crews had finally left. The casseroles from sympathetic neighbors were piling up in the refrigerator. She dabbed at her eyes with a tissue, checking her reflection in a compact mirror to ensure her mascara was artfully smudged. The doorbell rang. She composed herself, then answered it. Callie Maddox stood on the doorstep, her expression carefully neutral. I thought you might need company. Maris hesitated, then stepped aside. I thank you for coming. Inside, Callie took in a shrine of photos Maris had arranged, all of Wyatt. None including Blaine. Interesting. The police told me Blaine made bail. Maris said, her voice trembling. I'm scared, Callie. What if he comes here? He would not. Court order. Callie sat on the edge of the sofa. Besides, my brother would never hurt you or Wyatt. Maris's expression flickered, something hard and calculating crossing her features before the grief mask slipped back into place. You do not know what he is capable of. The things I've seen. We grew up together. Callie said evenly. I know exactly what he is capable of. And what he is not. Tension crackled between them. Maris looked away first. I just want to bury my son in peace. Have they released the body? Not yet. More tests or something. Maris twisted the tissue in her hands. Why are you really here, Callie? To defend your brother. To understand what happened to my nephew. Callie leaned forward. Maris, if someone hurt Wyatt, we both want them to pay. But the evidence against Blaine does not add up. I know what I saw. Maris's voice hardened slightly. And what exactly did you see? Because Blaine was in Chicago when you claim he was here. He found a way to fake it. Blaine's smart, you know that. Callie studied her sister-in-law carefully. Has anyone been helping you through this difficult time? A friend, perhaps? Someone close. Maris's eyes narrowed. What are you implying? Nothing. Just concerned about you being alone. Callie stood. I should go. But Maris, the truth has a way of coming out. Always. As Callie left, she did not miss the quick text Maris sent. Her fingers moving with practice speed across the screen. The waterfront park was quiet dusk. Most tourists and locals headed home or to dinner. Blaine sat on a bench facing Elliot, watching ferries cross the darkening water. His ankle monitor felt heavy, a constant reminder of his precarious position. Detective Moffat appeared without fanfare, taking a seat beside him. She wore civilian clothes, jeans, and a dark jacket, and kept her gaze on the water. I'm taking a huge risk meeting you, she said without preamble. I appreciate it. Why are you? Because things are not adding up. Moffat turned to face him. The security footage from your Chicago hotel is solid. Multiple cameras, no signs of tampering. You physically could not have been in Seattle when your wife claims. She is lying. The question is why? Moffat handed him a file. Take a quick look. I need it back before you leave. Blaine opened it. Inside were photos from his home, forensic reports, and most disturbingly pictures of the burned body found in his garage. He forced himself to look at them clinically, suppressing the visceral response. The body is male, approximately your son's height and weight. Moffat said quietly, but the condition makes positive ID difficult. We were waiting on dental records, but your wife was reluctant to provide them. Said she'd have to search for them. Seemed evasive. Moffat's expression was troubled. There's more. The threatening text from your phone. They originated from a burner phone, not your actual device. Someone spoofed your number. Blaine nodded, processing. What else? We found partial fingerprints on the gas can use to burn the body. Not yours. Not on file. Moffat hesitated. Mr. Maddox, I'm not supposed to be investigating alternate theories. My lieutenant is convinced you guilty. But you not. I follow evidence, not assumptions. She took the file back. Your wife listed your son as missing 2 days before she claims you came home early. The timing is problematic. Blaine absorbed this. She reported him missing, then claimed I killed him after returning early. Yes. And there's something else, surveillance footage from a bank ATM 3 blocks from your house. It shows your wife meeting with a man the day before Wyatt supposedly disappeared. They appeared intimate. Do you have a name for this man? Not yet. The angle was not ideal. Blaine's mind worked rapidly. I need to find out who he is. Mr. Maddox. Moffat's voice turned warning. I'm sharing this because I want justice for your son. But if you interfere with an active investigation, I understand. Blaine met her gaze. But while you working within the system, I need to work outside it. My son might still be alive. Moffat did not immediately dismiss the possibility, which confirmed Blaine's suspicions that she harbored the same doubts. One more thing, she said, your neighbor's kid, Logan Pierce, he told officers that Wyatt was afraid of his mom's new friend. So the man gave in the creeps. Blaine filed this away. Thank you, detective. I never gave you any information, she said, standing. And if you do anything illegal, I'll arrest you myself. Clear crystal. As Moffat walked away, Blaine's phone buzzed with a text from Gid. Found something. Meet a Callie's ASAP. Gid had spread documents across Callie's dining table, bank statements, phone records, and printouts of security camera stills. Your wife's been busy, he said, without preamble. Regular cash withdrawals, $2,000 here, $3,000 there. Nothing that would trigger banking alerts, but it adds up to nearly $50,000 over 3 months. Callie pointed to a grainy photo. And that's her yoga instructor, we think. The image showed Maris entering a motel off Aurora Avenue, a tall man with his arm around her waist. His face was partly obscured, but what was visible showed a handsome, confident profile. His name is Roman Vasquez, Gid said, owns 3 upscale gyms in the greater Seattle area. Former competitive bodybuilder with 2 convictions for assault, the one was pleaded down to a misdemeanor. How did you find him? Blaine asked. I have contacts. And your sister is surprisingly good at social media stalking. Gid nodded toward Callie, who shrugged. Nurses see the worst of humanity. I've gotten good at background checking potential dates. She pulled up another image on her laptop, a screenshot from Instagram showing Roman at his gym, arm around a beaming Maris. The caption read, private session with my favorite client. #fitness goals. The post is from 2 months ago, Callie said. Comments are full of flirty emojis from both of them. Blaine studied the image. How long has this been going on? At least 4 months, based on their social media interaction. Gid handed him another document. Here's where it gets interesting. Vasquez has money troubles. His gyms look successful, but he's leveraged to the eyeballs. 3 months ago, he took out a high-interest loan from some shady characters. Loan sharks. Probably the kind who do not just report you to credit agencies if you default. The pieces aligned in Blaine's mind. So Maris and Roman needed money. They took out additional life insurance on Wyatt, then staged his death to frame me. But where's Wyatt? Callie asked, the worry plain in her voice. If they did not kill him, they keeping him somewhere. Blaine's voice hardened. Alive, hopefully. They need him hidden until the insurance pays out and the investigation concludes. Or Gid said quietly, they never intended to keep him alive after the body was identified. A heavy silence fell. Blaine broke it, his voice deadly calm. We need to find him. Now, I can help, Callie said. Logan Pierce, he and Wyatt are best friends. He might know something he has not told the police. Good. Talk to him. Blaine turned to Gid. I need everything you can find on Vasquez. Properties, friends, hideouts. Anywhere they might be keeping Wyatt. What are you going to do? Gid asked. Blaine checked his watch. I'm going to have a conversation with Roman Vasquez. The Apex Fitness Center in downtown Seattle was sleek and modern, catering to professionals willing to pay premium prices for private training. Despite the late hour, lights still glowed inside as Blaine approached. Through the glass front, he could see a man matching Roman Vasquez's description locking up. Blaine waited in the shadows of a recessed doorway across the street. When Roman emerged, he followed at a distance. The man walked 2 blocks to a parking garage, entered and emerged minutes later in a black Audi. Blaine had anticipated this. The Uber he called was waiting, the driver unaware of anything unusual as Blaine instructed him to follow the Audi at a discreet distance. The car led them to a mid-range apartment building in Belltown. Blaine watched Roman enter, noted the apartment number as lights came on in a corner unit, then paid the Uber driver and walked to a cafe across the street. From there, he had a clear view of the building entrance while remaining inconspicuous. His patience was rewarded 20 minutes later when a familiar figure arrived in a hurry. Maris, looking nothing like the grieving mother she portrayed on television, she wore tight jeans, a low-cut top and heels, her hair and makeup immaculate. She punched in a coat at the entrance and disappeared inside. Blaine's phone buzzed. Callie. I talked to Logan, she said without preamble. Wyatt told him 3 weeks ago that his mom's friend was scary when she was not around. Said the man tried to be nice to him, but it felt fake. Did he mention anywhere specific they went? Any places Roman might have taken him. That's the thing. Logan says Wyatt told him about a cabin. Somewhere by a lake where his mom and the muscle man went sometimes. Said it was a secret place his dad did not know about. Blaine's mind raced. A cabin by a lake. Did he say which lake? No, just said it was far and they drove forever to get there. Good work. Keep digging. Blaine ended the call and returned his attention to the apartment building. It had sent him Roman's address and the entry code. Obtained through means Blaine did not question. He debated confronting them now but decided against it. Better to gather more intelligence first as if on cue. Raised voices came from the apartment, audible even from across the street as a window was flung open. Blaine could not make out the words, but the tone was clear, an argument. He did. He moved closer, positioning himself near the building's entrance. The shouting grew louder. Distinct words now carrying through the night air. I did not sign up for murder. Roman's voice tight with panic duck. Maris's response was too quiet to hear. They were looking at me now too. Roman again. The cops pulled security footage from a bank. If they identify me, lower your voice. You idiot. Maris's sharp command was clear. Blaine took out his phone and recorded the exchange, moving as close as he dared. This was supposed to be simple. Roman's voice again, slightly muffled. Frame your husband, collect the insurance, split it and disappear. Not whatever the hell this has become. It's still simple. Maris now, cold and calculating, a tone Blaine had never heard from his wife before. We stick to the plan. Blaine goes down for murder. We get the money. We have leverage over him to remember. And what if they find out the body is not? They were not. Maris's voice was firm. We made sure of that. The window slammed shut, cutting off the rest of the conversation. But Blaine had heard enough. His suspicions were confirmed. Wyatt was alive. The body was not his son's. And Maris and Roman were in this together. Now he needed proof. And he needed to find his son before they realized their plan was unraveling, that Callie's apartment became their command center. For 3 days, they gathered intel, tracked movements, and built their case. Blaine operated with cold precision, sleeping only when absolutely necessary, his focus unwavering. It had unearthed property records showing a cabin registered to Roman's brother near Lake Wenatchee, a 2-hour drive from Seattle. Satellite imagery showed a remote location accessible by a single dirt road with no neighbors for at least a mile in any direction. Perfect for hiding someone. Detective Moffat had come through as well, discreetly sharing that the dental records Maris eventually provided did not match the burned body. The department was keeping this quiet while they pursued the identity of the actual victim. But it meant one thing. Wyatt Maddox was officially considered missing, not murdered, on the morning of the 4th day. Blaine laid out their findings to Gid and Callie. We have enough to go to the police, Callie argued. Let them raid the cabin, find Wyatt. And what if he is not there? Blaine countered. What if they moved him? Or worse? No, we need to be certain. So what's the plan? Gid asked, though his expression suggested he already knew and did not entirely approve. I need to draw them out. Force them to make a mistake. Blaine pulled up a document on his laptop, a bank statement showing a recent transfer of $250,000 to an offshore account. The insurance money for Wyatt came through yesterday. Maris now has access to it. Jesus, Callie whispered. They really did it for the money. Money and freedom. Blaine corrected. Maris wants out of our marriage. But a divorce would leave her with far less than she'd get if I went to prison for murder and she collected all the insurance. Cold-blooded, Gid muttered. Indeed, Blaine pulled up another screen, a fake news report his contacts had helped create. Tomorrow morning, the story breaks. Sources close to the investigation breakthrough in Maddox's murder case. DNA evidence suggests body found is not victim's son. Police seek new suspects. Callie caught on immediately. You re-spooking them. Exactly. They panic, try to run or worse. Try to cover their tracks by eliminating Wyatt. But we be watching. Tracking. This is insanely dangerous. Gid protested. If something goes wrong, it will not. Blaine's voice was steel. I've calculated every variable. You not calculate human panic, Blaine. Callie said softly. I can anticipate it. He pulled up another screen, a tracking app showing a blinking red dot. I placed a tracker on Roman's car 3 days ago. Another on Maris's. The moment they moved toward that cabin, we know. Gid scrubbed a hand over his face. And then what? You not confront them. You've got an ankle monitor. Remember? One step outside the county and cops will swarm. Blaine smiled thinly. That's already taken care of. He pulled up his pant leg to reveal the ankle monitor attached to a device that simulated movement around his apartment building. As far as the monitoring system is concerned, I'm taking a very long nap at home. That's highly illegal. Gid said, but without much conviction. So is framing someone for murder. Blaine checked his watch. The story goes live in 2 hours. I need you both ready to move when they do. The fake news story worked better than Blaine had anticipated. Within an hour of its release, both trackers showed frantic movement. Roman and Maris had separately rushed to Roman's apartment, stayed for 30 minutes, then departed in separate vehicles, Maris heading north out of the city, Roman east. They splitting up. Callie noted, watching the tracking app. Maris is taking the direct route to the cabin. Roman's going, where's that? Looks like Snoqualmie. Gid said, checking the map. Why would he head east when the cabin's north? Blaine studied the pattern. Diversion. Or he's picking something up or someone. His eyes narrowed. Or someone's picking him up. He's abandoning his car. Sure enough, Roman's tracker stopped moving in a park and ride lot outside Snoqualmie. After 10 minutes, it remained stationary. He switched vehicles. Blaine confirmed. We focus on Maris. They took Gid's SUV, following at a safe distance as Maris's signal moved steadily north toward Lake Wenatchee. Blaine sat in the passenger seat, his expression unreadable as he watched the tracker's progress. What's your endgame here, Blaine? Gid asked after they'd been driving for an hour. Confront them? Rescue Wyatt? Turn them in? Oh, of the above. Blaine did not elaborate. Callie leaned forward from the back seat. And if Wyatt is not at the cabin, he will be. Or we find out where he is. Blaine's tone brooked no argument. The tracker led them to the edge of Lake Wenatchee State Park, then down a winding forest road. They stopped half a mile for where Maris's signal had gone stationary, a small A-frame cabin nestled against towering pines, smoke curling from its chimney. Stay here, Blaine instructed. If I'm not back in 30 minutes, call Detective Moffat. The coordinates are already programmed in my phone. He handed it to Callie. Blaine, this is insane. Gid protested. We should call the police now. Not until I know Wyatt's safe. Blaine checked the small recording device in his pocket. Then the gun he'd acquired legally registered to him, but a clear violation of his bail conditions. 30 minutes. He slipped into the woods before they could argue further, moving with quiet efficiency through the underbrush until he had a clear view of the cabin. Maris's car was parked outside through a window. He could see her pacing, phone to her ear, gesticulating angrily. Blaine circled the property, checking each window. The cabin was small: main room, kitchen, bathroom, and a loft accessible by ladder. No sign of Wyatt. Then he spotted the padlock on what appeared to be a cellar door, partially hidden by a wood pile at the side of the cabin. He waited, watching Maris through the windows. She finished her call, checked her watch repeatedly, then finally grabbed her keys and left the cabin. The sound of her car starting and driving away gave him his opportunity. Blaine moved quickly to the cellar door, examining the padlock. Standard model, nothing sophisticated. He had it open in under a minute, easing the door up slowly to prevent any creaking. Concrete steps led down into darkness. Blaine pulled out his phone's flashlight and descended cautiously. The cellar was small and musty with rough stone walls and a dirt floor. In the corner on a camping cot lay a small figure. "Wyatt," Blaine whispered. The figure stirred, then shot upright. That relief crashed through Blaine with physical force. He moved forward, kneeling beside the cot. His son's face was dirty. His clothes rumbled, but he appeared unharmed. "Are you hurt?" Blaine asked, quickly checking Wyatt for injuries. "No, just scared." Tears welled in the boy's eyes. "Mom said you were in jail. That you could not come for me. I'm here now." Blaine helped him stand. "We need to go." Quickly and quietly. "She's coming back with Roman," Wyatt said urgently. "I heard them talking. They gonna take me somewhere else." Blaine nodded. "We'll be long gone before then." They were halfway up the cellar steps when car tires crunched on the gravel outside. Blaine froze, then gently pushed Wyatt back down. "Stay here. Stay silent," he whispered. "I'll handle this." He closed the cellar door quietly, leaving it unlocked, and moved to the side of the cabin. Peering around the corner, he saw not Mary's car, but a black SUV he did not recognize. Roman emerged from the driver's side, looking nervous. From the passenger side came another man, older, heavy-set with a weather-beaten face. "I do not like changes to the plan," the stranger was saying. "The boy was supposed to be gone before the body was found." "Plans change," Roman replied. "Mary's is bringing the money. We do the exchange, then you take the kid to the arranged location." "And you trust her?" "After she screwed up this badly," Roman's laugh was bitter. "Trust? No, but she has no choice now. The police are closing in." Blaine took a calculated risk. He stepped into view. Gun leveled at the two men. "Hello, Roman." Roman froze, his face draining of color. "Maddox? How did you?" "Where's my son?" Blaine's voice was deadly calm. "I do not. We do not." Roman stammered. The stranger was calmer, assessing Blaine with cold eyes. "Put the gun down, Mr. Maddox. This can still end well for everyone." "I doubt that." Blaine kept the weapon steady. "My son. Now. He's not here." Roman blurted. "Mary's took him earlier to a different location." "You lying?" Blaine took a step closer. "Last chance." "The cellar," the stranger said, ignoring Roman's panicked look. "He's in the cellar, unharmed." Blaine did not take his eyes off them. "Wyatt, come out slowly." After a moment's hesitation, the cellar door creaked open and Wyatt emerged, blinking in the sunlight. Seeing his father with a gun pointed at the men, he froze. "Come to me," Blaine said gently. "Stay behind me." Wyatt did as instructed, moving with cautious steps until he was safely behind his father. "Now, Mr. Maddox," the stranger said conversationally, "we seem to be in impasse. You have your son. We have a problem. Your problem is not my concern, but it should be." The man smiled thinly. "Your wife is very convincing on television. The grieving mother whose husband murdered their son. The public loves her. Even with the boy alive, you're looking at charges for kidnapping, bail violation, brandishing a weapon." "He's right, Dad," Wyatt whispered. "Mom told everyone you killed me." Blaine did not lower the gun. "I have evidence. Recordings of both of you planning this. The real identity of the body you used. Bank transfers. All safely with my attorney who's waiting with a direct line to the Seattle PD." Roman swore under his breath. The stranger's expression did not change. "Then it seems we have nothing to discuss." The older man started to turn away, then paused. "One thing, Mr. Maddox," the boy saw our faces. "That complicates matters. Try anything and you would not leave this property alive." Blaine's voice was ice. The standoff broke at the sound of another car approaching. Mayor's returning. Blaine made a split-second decision. "Wyatt, run to the trees. My friend Gid is waiting in a blue SUV down the road. Go to him." He pressed his phone into Wyatt's hand. "Show him this location." Wyatt hesitated only a moment before taking off into the woods. Roman made a move as if to follow. But Blaine's gun tracked him immediately. "Do not." Mary's car pulled up behind the SUV. She emerged, carrying a duffel bag, then froze as she saw Blaine. "No," she whispered. "No, this is not possible." Blaine finished for her. "Hello, Mary's." The color drained from her face. "How did you find us?" "I'm thorough. You know that." He kept the gun trained on the men but addressed his wife. "It's over. Wyatt is safe. The police are on their way." "You're bluffing," she said, but uncertainty crept into her voice. "Am I?" Blaine pulled out the recording device with his free hand. "I have you and Roman discussing the plan. The fake murder. The insurance fraud. All of it." Mary's composure cracked. "You were not supposed to get out on bail. You were supposed to stay locked up until it was all over." You miscalculated. Blaine's voice was eerily calm. You always underestimated me, Marys. All those years together and you never really saw me. I saw enough, she spat. A cold, ruthless machine. No wonder Wyatt preferred Roman. At least he tried to be a father. The stranger cleared his throat. This is all very fascinating. But perhaps we should discuss solutions rather than marital problems? There's no solution, Blaine said flatly. You all going to prison. That's one option. The man nodded thoughtfully. Here's another. He moved faster than Blaine expected, drawing a weapon from beneath his jacket. Blaine fired first one clean shot that caught the stranger in his shoulder, spinning him backward. Roman bolted for the SUV. Marys, after a moment's hesitation, ran for her own car. Blaine let them go. His priority was ensuring Wyatt's safety, not vengeance. He kept his gun trained on the wounded stranger who was clutching his shoulder and swearing. The police really are coming. Blaine told him, you might want to consider what you tell them. You shot me. The man said incredulously, yes. And I recorded your entire conversation about kidnapping my son. Blaine's expression did not change. Your move. The raid on the cabin yielded more than Blaine had anticipated. While the stranger, who turned out to be a loan shark named Jeremiah Keller with an extensive criminal record, was taken into custody, Roman and Marys had escaped. But they left behind evidence, documents showing the identity of the burned body, a homeless man who matched Wyatt's general size, financial records detailing the insurance fraud, and a detailed escape plan with new identities for both of them. Detective Moffat had been less than pleased with Blaine's vigilante approach, but could not argue with the results. Wyatt was safe, the frame-up exposed, and all charges against Blaine dropped. The search for Marys and Roman was now the department's top priority point. 2 days later, Blaine sat with Gid, Callie, Detective Moffat, and most importantly Wyatt in a conference room at the police station. Wyatt had been examined by doctors, interviewed by child psychologists, and deemed physically unharmed but emotionally traumatized. He clung to Blaine's side, unwilling to be separated from his father. We've confirmed through DNA that the body found in your garage was not Wyatt. Moffat explained, keeping her voice gentle for the boy's benefit. It was a man named Edward Holloway, reported missing 3 weeks ago, a transient with a history of mental illness. How did they get him? Callie asked, horrified. Mr. Vasquez apparently offered him money and shelter. Based on Wyatt's statement, they kept both of them at the cabin initially. Then she glanced at Wyatt and left the rest unsaid. Wyatt spoke up, his voice small but steady. They made me watch. Roman said I needed to see what happened to bad people, but I knew the man was not bad. He was just confused. Blaine's arm tightened around his son's shoulders. You're safe now. They say not hurt you or anyone else. We believe Maris and Roman plan to disappear overseas. Moffat continued. They had passports, driver's licenses, and credit cards under new identities. We flagged these with border control and international agencies, but they might have backups. Blaine finished. Exactly. Moffat looked troubled. They resourceful and desperate. A dangerous combination. What about the money? Get asked. The insurance payout. Frozen. Along with all of Mrs. Maddox's known accounts. But she withdrew substantial cash before we could lock everything down. Blaine processed this information with his usual methodical precision. They need more than cash to disappear completely. They need resources. Contacts. We're looking into Roman's associates. Moffat assured him. His brother's being questioned about the cabin, but he claims ignorance of the entire scheme. I do not doubt it. Blaine said. Roman would not risk involving family in something this elaborate. Wyatt tugged at his father's sleeve. Dad, are they going to come back for me? The question hung in the air, voicing everyone's unspoken fear. Blaine met his son's eyes. No, I would not let them anywhere near you ever again. Moffat cleared a throat. We've arranged protective surveillance for you both, but we not maintain it indefinitely without clear evidence of a continuing threat. I understand. Blaine's expression darkened, but they still out there. We'll find them. Moffat gathered her files. In the meantime, focus on helping Wyatt recover. That's the priority now. After she left, Gid pulled Blaine aside while Callie distracted Wyatt with a game on her phone. I know that look. Gid said quietly. You replanning something. I'm protecting my son by going after them yourself. That's not protection, Blaine. That's revenge. It's prevention. Blaine corrected. As long as they free Wyatt is not safe. You heard Moffat, the police not watch us forever. Gid studied his friend. What's your play? I know Maris better than anyone. I know how she thinks what she wants. She's smart but predictable in her self-interest. Blaine's voice was cool, calculated, and Roman's the weak link. He's already shown he panics under pressure. You're going to use that? I'm going to end this. Blaine glanced at Wyatt, his expression softening momentarily. For good, the plan was elegantly simple. Using his contacts in the media, Blaine arranged for a leak about Roman cutting a deal with prosecutors in exchange for Maris' location. The false story appeared in an online crime blog known to be followed by local criminals and those adjacent to law enforcement. Simultaneously, he leaked information through backdoor channels suggesting that Roman had been spotted near the Canadian border, prompting police to divert resources northward while he focused on Maris' most likely hideout vacation property owned by her parents in eastern Washington. Long abandoned but never sold. It's a shot in the dark. Gid complained as they drove through the desert landscape. Wyatt safely with Callie back in Seattle. What makes you think she'd go there? She mentioned it once, said it was the one place she felt truly safe as a child. Blaine kept his eyes on the road. People return as safety in crisis. It's human nature. And if she's not there, then we move to the next location on my list. The property came into view as they crested a hill, a small ranch house set against rocky terrain, isolated and weathered by decades of harsh conditions. No vehicles were visible, but a thin trail of smoke curled from the chimney. Someone's home, Gid murmured. Blaine parked a quarter-mile away, concealing the car behind an outcropping of rocks. Stay here. Keep the engine running. Like hell. Gid reached in a back seat and pulled out a baseball bat. I'm not letting you walk in there alone. Blaine did not argue. They approached on foot, circling the property to survey it from all angles. Through a dirty window, they spotted Maris sitting at a kitchen table, counting stacks of cash. She was alone. Blaine gestured for Gid to cover the back door while he approached the front. No need for stealth now. He wanted her to know he was coming, that he knocked once hard. Inside, movement stopped. Maris, he called. It's over. Silence. Then the sound of a drawer opening, searching for a weapon. He guessed. Roman talked. Blaine continued. The police know everything. They're on their way here now. You lying. Her voice was high-strained. Check the crime blog. It's all there. He sold you out to save himself. A pause. Then sounds of frantic movement, presumably checking the story on her phone. Blaine used the distraction to test the door. Locked, but the frame was old, rotting. I've transferred most of the money offshore, she shouted. You'll never find it. I do not care about the money, Maris. I care about her son. The son you were willing to traumatize, or worse, for cash. Another pause. I never would have hurt him. He was gonna come with us. Once it was safe. After convincing him his father was a murderer, after making him watch you kill an innocent man, the sudden silence told Blaine he struck a nerve. That was Roman's idea. She finally said, her voice smaller. I never wanted Wyatt to see that. But you let happen. You helped plan it. Blaine's voice hardened. You try to destroy everything I care about. Why? Because you never cared about me. The words exploded from her, raw with long-buried resentment. 12 years, Blaine. 12 years of living with a machine who calculated the exact right amount of attention to give his wife, who treated our marriage like another business transaction that does not justify what you did. It justified getting away, starting over. Her voice cracked. Roman understood me. Valued me. Valued your access to money. Maybe. Blaine moved closer to the door. He's gone, Maris. Left you to take the fall. Right now he's telling the police everything in exchange for immunity. A crash from inside, something thrown in anger. No. He would not. Check your phone. Call him. See if he answers. Silence. Then the sound of dialing. Blaine knew Roman would not answer. The man's phone had been confiscated when he was arrested at the Canadian border that morning, though Maris could not know that yet. While she was distracted, Blaine signaled to Gid. One swift kick from his friend and the back door splintered open. Maris screamed, dropping the phone and grabbing for something under the table. Blaine was through the front door before she could bring the gun up. Do not, he said quietly. She froze, the weapon half raised. You're not taking me in. That's not my job. Blaine nodded to Gid, who had entered behind her. The police are already on their way. But before they arrive, you and I are going to have a conversation. About what? Her eyes darted between them, calculating escape routes. About the truth. All of it. Blaine pulled out his phone and set on the table, recording. For Wyatt's sake. For a moment he thought she might refuse. Then something in her broke. She lowered the gun to the table. Shoulders slumping in defeat. It was not supposed to go this far. She began. It started as a fantasy escaping, starting over. Roman made it seem possible. An insurance. Blaine prompted his idea. He had debts. Dangerous people. She laughed bitterly. We needed a body that could pass for Wyatt. We needed you to take the blame. So you chose an innocent homeless man, killed him, burned him to hide his identity. Maris flinched. I did not kill him. Roman did. While you made our son watch, I told you that was not the plan. Her voice rose again. Wyatt was supposed to be asleep. Roman brought him down to toughen him up. He said Gid made a disgusted noise from behind her. Blaine remained impassive. And after when the body was identified as Wyatt, what then? Maris would not meet his eyes. We decollect the insurance, wait for your conviction, then take Wyatt and disappear, leaving him to believe his father murdered someone while thinking it was him. Blaine's voice finally betrayed emotion, cold, controlled anger. That's beyond cruel, Maris. He would have adjusted. Kids are resilient. She looked up to find it. He would have forgotten you eventually. The words hummed in the air between them. Damning. Blaine let them settle before speaking again. You never understood me, Maris. Not once in 12 years. But your gravest mistake. He leaned forward. You underestimated how far I'd go to protect my son. She stared at him, suddenly afraid in a way she had not been before. What are you going to do? Nothing. Blaine picked up his phone, stopping the recording. The police will be here in approximately 8 minutes. I've already sent them everything they need, including this confession. As if on cue, sirens wailed in the distance. Maris slumped in her chair, the fight gone out of her. I did love you once, she said quietly. Before I realized there was nothing to love. Just ambition and control wrapped in a handsome package. I know. Blaine's expression did not change. That's why I never fully trusted you. She laughed, a hollow, broken sound. All these years. You never really let me in, did you? No. Blaine moved toward the door as the sirens grew louder. And neither did you. With Maris in custody and Roman cooperating with authorities to save himself, the case against them was airtight. The trial date was set for 3 months out, with both facing charges of murder, kidnapping, fraud, and conspiracy. Blaine should have felt relief. Wyatt was safe, recovering slowly with the help of therapists and the constant support of his father and aunt. The police had recovered most of the insurance money. Life was gradually returning to a new normal, but something not a blame, an unfinished edge to the whole affair. Despite their confessions, despite the evidence, he could not shake the feeling that Maris and Roman had not revealed everything. You need to let it go. Gid told him over drinks at his apartment 6 weeks after the arrests. They were going away for decades. Justice is being served. It's not about justice. Blaine swirled the whiskey in his glass, watching the light play through the amber liquid. It's about security. Loose ends. What loose ends? They relocked up. The case is solid. Jeremiah Keller. Blaine said simply the loan shark had been charged as an accessory. But his high-priced lawyers had negotiated a plea deal for minimal jail time. He'd be out in less than a year. You think he's a threat? Gid looked skeptical. I think he does not like loose ends either. Blaine set down his glass. And Wyatt is a loose end. A witness. Gid studied his friend. Why are not you telling me? Blaine hesitated, then pulled out his phone and played a voicemail. Mr. Maddox. We have unfinished business. Your boys saw things he should not. That's a problem for me. Problems cost money. We should talk about solutions. Soon, Keller's voice, unmistakable despite the poor quality. Jesus, Gid whispered. Have you told Moffat? Not yet. It's not explicitly a threat. His lawyers would argue he's just concerned about his upcoming trial. It's definitely a threat. I know. Blaine's expression hardened. And I'm not waiting for him to act on it. Blaine, Gid's voice held a warning. Do not do anything stupid. I never do. Blaine stood. I need access to Keller's financial records, his properties, his contacts. That's not exactly public information. But it is accessible to someone with the right skills and motivation. Blaine gave his friend a pointed look. Your firm represents 3 banks that Keller uses. Gid sighed heavily. You're asking me to commit multiple felonies. I'm asking you to help protect my son. The silence stretched between them, heavy with the weight of what Blaine was requesting. Give me a day. Gid finally said, but Blaine, whatever you replanning, be careful. Keller is not like Maris and Roman. He's dangerous in ways they could only pretend to be. So am I. Blaine replied quietly. They just never saw it. The trap was set with precision. Using the information Gid had reluctantly provided, Blaine had mapped out Keller's entire operation, his legitimate businesses, a pawn shop and 2 check cashing stores, his loan sharking territory, his enforcers, and most importantly, his weaknesses. Chief among those weaknesses, an IRS investigation that had been quietly proceeding for months. Keller did not know about it yet, but the investigators were closing in on accounts he believed were untraceable. Blaine crafted an anonymous tip to Keller about the investigation, making it appear to come from a contact within the IRS, someone Keller was bribing. The tip included just enough verifiable details to be credible, along with a suggestion that a key witness was preparing to testify against him. The witness's name, Roman Vasquez. The message was delivered while Roman was being transported from county jail to the courthouse for a pretrial hearing. As Blaine had calculated, Keller's reaction was swift. 2 of his associates attempted to intercept the transport, then only to find a heavily armed police escort waiting, tipped off by an anonymous source about a potential attack. The failed ambush added new charges to Keller's case and removed his bail option, but it was only phase 1 of Blaine's plan. Phase 2 involved leaking selected documents from Keller's financial records to both prosecutors and rival criminals, creating chaos in his organization while he was unable to direct operations from jail. Within weeks, his loan sharking territory was carved up by competitors, his legitimate businesses under intensive audit, and his enforcers either arrested or in hiding. Moffat confronted Blaine after connecting the dots. "I know what you're redoing," she said during an unannounced visit to his office. "Do you?" Blaine did not look up from his computer. "Dismantling Keller's operation piece by piece. Turning his associates against him. Making sure he has nothing to come back to when he eventually gets out." She sat across from him. "It's impressive. Also highly illegal." Now Blaine did look at her. "Can you prove any involvement on my part?" "No. You re too careful for that." She sighed. "But I know why you're redoing it. The voicemail threat. Why it's safety." Blaine said nothing. Waiting. "I should stop you." Moffat continued. "It's my job. Is it your job to protect my son from a man who explicitly threatened him? Because the system seems inadequate for that task." Moffat's expression softened slightly. "Out with Wyatt doing better. Not sleeping through the night yet. Still has nightmares about watching that man die." Blaine's voice remained steady, but his eyes betrayed a depth of anger he rarely displayed. Keller was part of that. He provided the victim, helped dispose of evidence, and now he's threatening my son. "I understand," Moffat said quietly. "But there are lines, Mr. Maddox. Lines that once crossed, you ca not come back from." "I'm aware." Blaine's gaze was unwavering. "Some lines need to be crossed to protect what matters." Moffat stood. "Just be careful. Keller's dangerous even from inside. And if anything happens to him that can be traced back to you, it would not be." Blaine turned back to his computer. The conversation clearly over. The final phase came 3 weeks later. Blaine had been methodically building a case against Keller that went far beyond his involvement with Maris and Roman. Detailed financial records showing tax evasion, evidence of witness intimidation in previous cases, even connections to 2 unsolved murders from years earlier. He compiled everything into a comprehensive file and delivered copies to the FBI, the IRS Criminal Investigation Division, the State Attorney General's office. Anonymous, untraceable, but devastating. The result exceeded even his expectations. Keller, facing multiple federal indictments and abandoned by his expensive legal team as the evidence mounted, agreed to a plea deal. 20 years, no possibility of parole for at least 15. The threat was neutralized. Wyatt was safe. But Blaine was not finished. There remained one loose in Maris. While Roman had turned state's evidence, offering everything he knew in exchange for a reduced sentence, Maris had maintained her partial innocence, claiming she'd been manipulated by both men. Her trial was approaching and her attorney was building a compelling case for diminished capacity based on psychological abuse. Blaine would not allow it. Not after what she'd done to Wyatt. He arranged a jailhouse visit, his first and only contact with Maris since her arrest. She looked smaller somehow. The prison jumpsuit hanging loose on her frame. Her hair pulled back severely from a face devoid of makeup. Yet her eyes still held calculation as she took the seat across from him. "I did not think you'd come," she said. "Neither did I." Blaine studied her dispassionately. "Your lawyer's arguing that you were a victim too. Manipulated by Roman and Keller." "Because I was." Her voice took on a practiced vulnerability. "You know how controlling Roman could be. How threatening." "Like I was?" Blaine asked mildly. She hesitated. That's not what I'm saying. It's exactly what you were saying. That you spent your marriage under my control. Then fell under Roman's. Never responsible for your own choices. You do not understand what it's like to be afraid. She countered. To feel trapped. Do not. Blaine leaned forward slightly. Understand exactly what it's like to fear for someone I love. To do whatever necessary to protect them. Maris's expression flickered. I did love Wyatt. I still do. You forced him to watch a murder. You were willing to let him believe his father killed someone and try to kill him. You kept him in a cellar. Blaine's voice remained calm. But ice cold. That's not love, Maris. That's ownership. What do you want from me? Frustration crept into her tone. I'm already going to prison. I've lost everything. I want you to plead guilty. Full responsibility. No diminished capacity defense. She laughed bitterly. Why would I do that? Because I have something you do not know about. Blaine slid a paper across the table. An additional recording. Why did not share with the police? Maris unfolded at a transcript of a conversation between her and Roman at the cabin, planning in explicit detail what they would do with Wyatt once they collected the insurance money and fled the country. The blood drained from her face. Where did you get this? I bugged the cabin before the police arrived. Blaine took the paper back. Your fancy lawyer might spin psychological manipulation. But no jury will forgive a mother who planned to sedate her child during travel. Then introduce him to his new reality by telling him his father was dead. You rebluffing. She whispered, but uncertainty clouded her eyes. Am I? Blaine stood. Plead guilty. Maris, take full responsibility. Or this recording goes to the prosecutor, the media, and Wyatt's therapist. You use our son that way. Let him hear this. No. You would by forcing me to release it. Blaine's expression was implacable. One last choice. Maris, make the right one. He left without waiting for her answer. Knowing he won. 3 days later, Maris changed her plea to guilty on all counts without explanation. Her lawyer was baffled. The prosecutor was delighted. The judge sentenced her to 30 years. A.S. For the recording Blaine had mentioned. It did not exist. But Maris, who had built a life on lies, could not recognize the truth. 6 months after Maris's sentencing, life had found a new rhythm. Blaine had scaled back his work travel to be home with Wyatt, who was slowly healing with the help of therapy in time. They moved to a new house, a fresh start without the shadows of the past hanging over them on a crisp fall evening. Blaine stood on the back deck of their new home, watching as Wyatt played with his cousin Callie's daughter in the air below. The sound of his son's laughter, once rare, now came more freely. It was the only sound that could pierce the armor Blaine had built around himself. He's doing better, Callie said, joining him with the railing. The nightmares are less frequent. Once a week now instead of nightly. Blaine kept his eyes on Wyatt. The therapist says he's making remarkable progress. Kids are resilient. So people keep telling me Callie studied her brother's profile. And what about you? Are you making progress? Blaine gave her a sidelong glance. I'm fine. You refunctional. That's different. She sighed. Kid's worried about you. Says you've gone colder since all this happened. Kid talks too much. He cares about you. We both do. Callie touched his arm lightly. You took down Keller's entire operation, made sure Maris and Roman will spend decades in prison. Wyatt is safe. It's over, Blaine. You can stand down now. Blaine said nothing for a long moment. Below, Wyatt had stopped playing to examine something in the grass at Caterpillar, judging by his fascinated expression. It will never be over, he finally said. Not really. What they did to him, what they took from him, his innocence, his trust, his voice remained steady, but his hands gripped the railing with white-knuckled intensity. I can never undo that damage. But you can help him heal from it. By healing yourself. Blaine shook his head slightly. I do not need healing. I need vigilance. Inside the house, the doorbell rang. Kit had arrived for their weekly dinner, another part of the new routine surrounding Wyatt with the stability of family. Later, after the children were in bed, the 3 adults sat in the living room with glasses of wine. The conversation flowed easily between Callie and Gid, while Blaine listened more than he spoke. I have news. Gid eventually said, his tone deliberately casual. Roman's appealing his sentence. Claims he has new evidence that might exonerate him from the worst charges. Blaine's expression did not change. What evidence? His lawyer's being cagey about it. Probably nothing, just a standard appeal. Gid studied his friend. The DA is not worried. Should I be? No. His case is solid. Maris' confession tied everything together. Callie leaned forward. Have either of them tried to contact Wyatt? Mara sends letters. Blaine said tonelessly. I do not give them to him. That's probably wise. Gid agreed. At least for now. For always, Blaine corrected. She lost the right to any contact with him. A weighted silence fell over the room, broken only when Blaine stood to refill his glass. There's something else. Gid said finally. Detective Moffat came to see me yesterday. She's concerned about you. Gid met Blaine's gaze directly. She's connected some dots about what happened to Keller's organization. Nothing she can prove, but enough to worry her. I appreciate her concern. Blaine said evenly. It's unnecessary. Is it? Gid pressed. Because from where I'm sitting you've changed. You were always controlled, always precise. But now there's something else. Something harder. I had to be hard to protect my son. And now when the threats are contained, what's driving you now, Blaine? Blaine considered the question, rolling the wine in his glass. Insurance. Against what? Callie asked. Future threats. Future betrayals. Blaine's voice was matter of fact. I will not be caught off guard again. Gid and Callie exchanged worry glances. That's no way to live. Callie said gently. It's the only way to ensure Wyatt remains safe. Safe, but at what cost? Gid challenged. Were you teaching him that the world is something to fortify against rather than engage with? I'm teaching him survival. Blaine's tone brooked no argument. The world proved itself hostile. I responded accordingly. Before either could reply, a small voice came from the hallway. That all three adults turned. Wyatt stood in the doorway in pajamas. His hair rumbled from sleep. Another nightmare? Blaine asked, his voice softening in a way it did only for his son. Wyatt nodded and Blaine crossed to him immediately, kneeling to eye level. The same one. No. Wyatt's voice was small. This time it was you who disappeared. Something flickered in Blaine's expression of crack in the facade. I'm not going anywhere. Promise. Wyatt's eyes, so much like his own, searched his face. I promise. Blaine pulled his son into an embrace, holding him with a fierce protectiveness that spoke volumes about what drove him now. Over Wyatt's shoulder, he met Gid's concerned gaze and Callie's worried expression. He understood their fear that in protecting Wyatt from external threats, he might become one himself. A cold, distant figure obsessed with control and security. Perhaps they were right to worry. But they had not been in that cellar, had not seen the terror in Wyatt's eyes, had not felt the icy certainty that everyone's wife, the system, even his own judgment had failed his son. Blaine would never fail him again. Whatever it cost, whatever it required him to become. After Wyatt had fallen back asleep, tucked securely in bed with Blaine beside him until dreams claimed him, Blaine returned to the living room where Gid and Callie waited. He needs me, Blaine said simply. He needs you whole, Callie countered, not consumed by vengeance and control. I'm not consumed. I'm focused. Gid leaned forward. It's over, Blaine. You won. But if you see not let go of this coldness, this distance, then in a way they still win. Blaine considered this. Perhaps. But Wyatt is safe. That's what matters. And happy? Is he happy, Blaine? Callie's question cut to the heart of it. He will be in time as a sister and friend prepared to leave, making him promise to call if he or Wyatt needed anything. Blaine stood in the doorway of his new home. The life he built with such precision have been shattered, then reconstructed with even greater care, stronger fortifications, fewer vulnerabilities. She underestimated one thing. He told Gid quietly as they said good night. I never lose. Gid's expression was troubled. Maybe not. But winning has its costs too. After they left, Blaine checked the security system, verified the locks, and returned to Wyatt's room. His son slept peacefully now. One arm wrapped around his stuffed tiger Callie had given him. Blaine stood watching the shadows, a sentinel against nightmares both real and imagined. Outside, the world continued its dangerous spin. Inside, within the fortress he built, was the only thing that mattered to one person who had seen the worst of humanity and still managed to laugh, to play, to trust. For that fragile trust, Blaine would remain vigilant. Unforgiving, undefeated, the mask had fallen, revealing not the monster Marys had tried to paint him as, but something perhaps more frightening, a man of absolute purpose, unleashed from the constraints of normal consideration. A man who would sacrifice anything, even parts of himself, to protect what he loved. That it was enough. It had to be.